If you haven't watched part 1 of this video, go ahead to watch it. It's just the video right before this. So we're just going to continue from there. So this is, I'm drafting the pocket, and you can see that I'm trying to make everything vertical. The lines of the shirt is vertical, so you have to be very careful when you're cutting a striped shirt like this, because vertical lines have to follow that way in every single piece that you're cutting. So the dimensions I use to cut this pocket, so this is going to be a front chest pocket. You see it as we move on towards the end. You see how it looks like, and you'll be able to recognize it. The dimensions I'm using to cut the pocket: 8.5 inches on the longer side, and then 7.5 inches on the shorter side, and then I just slanted it and joined it slant, so that because the pocket is going to come out looking like the way it is right now. So by the time I fold it and then I sew it onto the front bodice, it will be okay. So I cut 2 pieces, so it's going to be lined so that it can hold its body. I don't have interfacing because this is a very quick project, but if you have interfacing, this is where you're going to put your interfacing in between each piece of that pocket, because you're going to be attaching the two to your front, the front of your shirt. These cut and sew videos that I make are not very beginner friendly, so if you're a beginner, I'm going to make a separate pattern drafting series that will be beginner friendly for someone who's just starting their sewing journey. But if you're used to cutting freehand and you've been sewing for a while, you will be able to get the hang of most of these cut and sew tutorials, because a lot of them are not very well explained. It's not really that detailed, but someone who is already versed in sewing will be able to get what, for instance, when I cut a pattern piece, for instance a sleeve pattern, you already know what a sleeve pattern looks like, so you'll be able to know what without me even saying that this is a sleeve pattern. But for a beginner, might not necessarily be able to differentiate which from which, so I'm going to make a separate pattern drafting series to cover that. So subscribe so that when it drops, you can be alerted. So I'm about to cut the sleeve for the shirt, and I'm going to be using 18 inches. My client doesn't like long sleeves. She hates long sleeves. In fact, anything long sleeve is enough for her. So it's going to be a short sleeve shirt. It's going to come down below her elbow, and it's not going to be tight at all. So I'm going to be using 20 inches for the length of the sleeve, because it's going to be a roll-up sleeve. I'm going to roll it up and then sew it down. You see it in the final look. I'm going to roll it up and sew it down, so just so it looks a little fancy. So I'm just taking my measurements for the sleeve. So I already cut the sleeve pattern out, and this is the yoke for the back. So remember that the entire cloth the fabric is of course a striped fabric, so remember that everything needs to be in vertical. Everything has been cut vertically, but this yoke, the part of the yoke, is going to be cut horizontally, because if you cut it vertically, you're going to need to have to match the seams so that it looks good, so that it looks seamless. So that's why on most striped shirts you see that the yoke is usually horizontal, because it's less time consuming. I mean, you could cut it vertically if you have the time and patience, but like I said, this shirt needs to be delivered like tomorrow, and it needs to be finished by then, so I don't have the time to be matching the stripes. But so I'm going to cut it horizontally, and I even feel like it looks better like this. like it adds to the style of it to cut it horizontally. So I'm going to be cutting 2 pieces of it, just like the way I cut for the pocket. The 2 pieces are going to, the second piece of course is going to act like a lining on the inside, just to, you know, support the fabric. So I'm just going to cut 2 pieces of it. So I have joined the shirt, the front and the back pieces of the shirt. I've joined them together. So I've sewn the shoulder, I've sewn the yoke to it, I have sewn the pocket to it at this point. Oh, sorry, I couldn't record. I had to sew them late last night and I was already having it. I was so tired. It was such a tiring day, so I didn't record that part. But that doesn't mean that you guys aren't going to get another full tutorial on how to cut a shirt. But this one is just by the way. So it's the morning. I have to deliver the clothes in a few hours. So I'm just trying to, you know, what's left now. I've joined the major pieces. I've done the placket. All that is left now is to join the collar and to join the sleeve that we cut yesterday. I'm trying to see that the pocket lines up. You see the thing about cutting vertically, the vertical stripes, the stripes must line up, they must match up. You can't put, like, where there's white, it has to be white there. The pocket of it must be white where the cloth is white. So I'm just still going to do an in-depth shirt pattern drafting series for you guys, so don't worry, just calm down. So this is it now. I'm just going to attach, yeah, what's left is what I'll do, just attach the collar and then I'll attach the sleeve and then we'll be done with the shirt. So I'm just going to take a measurement round of the neck and see. So just take your tape and then use it to measure around the neck that you've sewn. You know, you've joined the front and the back piece now, so you are going to measure around to know how many inches you are going to use to cut the collar. So I'll go ahead to cut the under collar before I cut the main collar. So because the under collar is just going to be a few inches, it's just going to be a few inches shorter than the collar stand. Sorry, no under collar stand. So the collar stand will be like 1.5 inch width, because it should be the standard is 1 inch, but I'll do 1.5 because by the time you join it on both sides it's already like 1 inch. So that's what I'm doing here.